Decades of evading authorities, two alleged leaders of Mexico's most brutal and powerful drug cartel are in U.S. custody. Joaquin Guzman Lopez, the 37-year-old son of Sinaloa cartel boss Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, and the cartel's co-founder, Ismael El Mayo Zambada Garcia, age 75, arrested after landing in a private plane in New Mexico.
Both men are facing multiple charges in the United States for leading the cartel's criminal operations, including its deadly drug manufacturing and trafficking networks.
Three law enforcement officials tell NBC News investigators believe Guzman Lopez may have fooled El Mayo into getting on the plane, possibly under the impression Guzman Lopez would get more favorable treatment from authorities. El Mayo is one of the DEA's most wanted fugitives, accused of funneling huge quantities of fentanyl and other drugs. Lopez would get more favorable treatment from authorities. El Mayo is one of the DEA's most wanted fugitives, accused of funneling huge quantities of fentanyl and other drugs to U.S. streets. There were an estimated 108,000 drug overdose deaths in the U.S. last year, according to the CDC, with an estimated 75,000 caused by synthetic opioids, including fentanyl.
El Mayo and Guzman Lopez join a growing list of Sinaloa cartel leaders and associates who the Justice Department is holding accountable in the United States.
Among those being held accountable, El Chapo, who was captured in Mexico and extradited to the U.S. in 2016. He is currently serving a life sentence in a maximum security prison after being convicted of drug trafficking, money laundering, and weapons charges. Four of El Chapo's sons, known as the Chapitos, are thought to have taken up cartel operations after their father's arrest.
They often torture and kill their victims. They have fed some of their victims, dead and alive, to tigers belonging to the Chapitos.
Tonight, two of the Chapitos are in custody. Last year, Ovidio Guzman Lopez was arrested and extradited to the U.S. In September, he pled not guilty to drug and money laundering charges. President Biden commending the joint Homeland Security, DEA, and FBI effort, saying, quote, "Too many of our citizens have lost their lives to the scourge of fentanyl. Too many families have been broken and are suffering because of this destructive drug."
The Justice Department will not rest until every single cartel leader, member, and associate responsible for poisoning our communities is held accountable.
Tonight, it remains to be seen whether Guzman Lopez will get any of the leniency he was hoping for.
Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delanian joins us now. Ken, these men landed in New Mexico, then flew to El Paso, where they were arrested, as we saw in your piece. So what comes next?
And Valerie, Guzman Lopez waived his first appearance, and so he was flown in an FBI plane to Chicago, where we believe he's going to face some sort of federal criminal charges. But it appears the fate of these men will diverge, because Guzman Lopez made a deal here. He's clearly going to get some benefit for that. El Mayo is one of the most wanted drug lords in the world, and the U.S. is likely to try to throw the book at him. There are a number of, we believe, indictments around the country, possible charges that he could face. And if he follows the fate of El Chapo, his co-founder of the Sinaloa cartel, he would end up life in prison in a maximum security facility somewhere in the bowels of the federal prison system. Valerie.
All right, Ken Delanian, thank you.
Mexican drug lord who was apparently tricked into being captured by U.S. authorities last week claims his client was the victim of kidnapping. Now Rafael Romo with the latest.
The attorney for Ismael El Mayo Zambada, the alleged co-founder of the Sinaloa cartel, says his client neither surrendered nor negotiated any terms with the U.S. government, but was instead kidnapped. I spoke earlier on the phone with Frank Perez, Zambada's attorney. He told me his 76-year-old client was kidnapped by Joaquin Guzman Lopez, son of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the other co-founder of the Sinaloa cartel. Joaquin Guzman Lopez forcibly kidnapped my client. He was ambushed, thrown to the ground, and handcuffed by 6 men in military uniforms and Joaquin. His legs were tied and a black bag was placed over his head, Perez said in a statement sent to CNN. He was then thrown into the back of a pickup truck and taken to a landing strip. There he was forced onto a plane, his legs tied to the seat by Joaquin and brought to the U.S. against his will. The only people on the plane were the pilot, Joaquin, and my client, Perez added. U.S. law enforcement officials had previously told CNN that that Joaquin Guzman Lopez had duped Zambada and orchestrated their arrest by making him believe they were flying to northern Mexico to look at real estate. Instead, the official said their small private plane landed north of the border near El Paso, Texas, where U.S. authorities were waiting on the tarmac. Former DEA agent Jack Riley told CNN that Zambada managed to elude law enforcement for decades.
There's some speculation that Mayo Zambada may have been in the process of trying to negotiate a surrender. I see that highly unlikely, given where he was in the organization. But this is a tremendous blow to Sinaloa. And I think it's important to understand that this guy's been around, Mayo Zambada has been around for 40 years. That's really unheard of for someone in his position.
CNN learned Saturday that whatever action the U.S. might have taken to arrest Zambada and Guzman Lopez prompted a furious behind-the-scenes reaction from the Mexican government. A U.S. official familiar with the operation said Mexican officials are demanding senior U.S. law enforcement explain exactly what transpired in their own country. Meanwhile, Guzman Lopez is expected to appear in federal court Tuesday in Chicago. His attorney told CNN, but declined further comment. Rafael Romo, CNN, Atlanta.